Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Brad, what's been your emphasis this week?
Just get back to work. I mean, that's all you can do right now is put your head down, get back to work next game, and that's always the emphasis point. Win or lose, that last game is behind you. We've got a really, good opponent that we've got to play this week. A team that, as they've had a couple of tough ones and could be sitting in a really good position. So we know the battle that we've got, and so that's where the whole focus has been.
Mark talked a lot this last week about not making one loss turn into two losses. Have you felt that urgency from the players at all this week, that they're kind of locked in more because of that?
Yeah, I think they, because we've had that happen once this year, and I think they understand that you can't let that trickle effect happen. Guys in the past, they've been around, they understand. The new guys, that was their first go around at it, and so there's no. At this point in the season, there is no more freshmen. You've played enough, you've been around enough, you've experienced, win streaks, losing streaks, all that. So the focus has got to be on just executing your play, your assignment for 60 minutes. And that's been the focus this week, and that's the way we're progressing.
When looking at Missouri's offense, is there anything in particular that jumps out to you?
No, I think what they do is, what Coach Drinkwitz has done for the last couple of years. Scheme-wise, it's really challenging in the fact that they can really run the ball. Their outside zone scheme's efficient. Their O-line does a really nice job. Their backs get downhill, and then you marry in some of their gap scheme, run game, and over the last couple of games, you've seen sort of the progression of a QB run game as well. So, it starts there. That offense always starts, with a strong run game, and they build from that. I think Cook's really been gaining confidence again over these last couple games as well. Lovett's a dynamic receiver along with Burden, and and you throw Cooper in there as well, and Levin's played a lot of games and made a lot of big catches, and there's a lot of confidence in him, in some of those intermediate routes. And so, it's a really solid, sort of balanced, well-rounded offense that you can't just sort of key on one area. And then you add in the motions and the shifts and, some of the more exotic style plays to create, explosives. And you got to do a good job with your eye discipline.
With DeAndre out, how's Trevin played at this point?
Trevin, when he's been in the game, has played solid. There's some things that we continue to clean up, just like every one of our guys. But his energy, his understanding, it has been good. And when the ball's in the open field, obviously that his athleticism shows. Still working on, at times just pulling the pin. I think that's a rep and a confidence thing for him, that it's kind of like a quarterback, where the more comfortable it doesn't have to be a super clean picture to throw the ball. It's the same thing with an inside backer. Like, it doesn't have to be a fully clean picture and the ball carrier has to have the ball in the hole. Now I can go. Like, there's an anticipation piece that I can pull the pin knowing that he is going to show up there, right? And he's, with every rep that he takes, you can see the confidence and the comfort building. I thought he's had a really good week of practice. Him and De'Eric, they have a really good sort of rapport with each other out there, and they're really good friends, off the field. And so I think you can sort of see that on the field.
Going off that, obviously no one injury to happen. Are you excited to see those two play together, given their kind of the future at those positions?
Yeah, obviously there's always an excitement when somebody's able to play and see, okay, what does the next guy up have? Obviously, you go through the season and you're heartbroken for a guy like Jalen Geiger, right? And then you see the elevation of Jordan Lovett. You're heartbroken for, Jaquez, and watching, him have to miss games. And then the elevation of De'Eric Jackson, the same thing. And so it doesn't matter what position, you're always interested to see that next person. And obviously, what you sort of lose in experience, you gain in sort of youthful and exuberance. And so, but you also, have to understand there's going to be mistakes, and some other guys are going to have to fix those mistakes that they make. But we got to try to play as clean a game as possible.
Yes, speaking of that, I mean, as you mentioned, Missouri throws a lot of stuff at you with motions and shifts and so forth, and you're missing your two most experienced linebackers. Who do you have to depend on to make sure that guys are in the right place, and as you mentioned, fixing things that they're doing wrong on the field before they get over to you?
Yeah, so obviously everybody needs to handle their own business, but it helps to have a guy like Ty Asian behind that's seen a lot and played a lot, and can talk and communicate and get those things. The back end coverage is sort of communicated, reiterated. But again, I've been proud of those two, in practice this week in terms of their communication and understanding. And obviously De'Aric's played a lot of snaps, and so he's going to be able to help sort of be a calming force in there. But again, I think they're a good pairing because they keep each other up, and Trevin's got sort of a jovial personality, and it keeps De'Aric loose, and De'Aric plays his best when he's loose. When he starts to get tight, we're concerned about maybe a misfit or a misplay or a missed tackle, and so I think they can bring the best out of each other.
Mark mentioned something about the possibility of needing Alcantara.
I'm sorry?
Alcantara to get his side, his way back up and all and stuff. Mark seems to think that he plays better heavier than he is now.
Yeah, I think especially down there in the SEC, in the trenches, girth is important, and you've seen sort of how well Deion has played this year, and it's obviously there's a lot of factors that play into that, but girth is one of them, and one of the reasons that he's been able to be successful. And so we'd like to get that up a little bit, and he knows and he's aware, but he's playing with a high effort level right now, and trying to sort of compensate for that just with energy and some twitch. But as we go forward, we'd like to push that number a little bit.
Brad, you talked about communication a minute ago. You've talked about it really all year. You had some breakdowns, it looked like, on Saturday. Has that been an additional point of emphasis this week?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's necessarily an additional point of emphasis. We knew going in, and it's one of the things that makes that offense difficult. It's not. I think a lot of people think about the tempo and the pressure that it applies from a physical standpoint. There's a mental pressure that's sort of on you consistently. Like, you don't get a break to mentally decompress from maybe a previous play or from, and so it's sort of a heightened awareness, and you can't replicate that at practice. It's that constant physical and mental focus required throughout an entire series, and all it takes is one little lapse, and it can lead to explosive plays that we can't have. So again, not necessarily more vital than any other week. Every week's important with communication. I think that's where some of those stemmed last week.
Mizzou use any tempo in this, or is it?
They do. They can go varied. That's and sometimes that's even more difficult because at times when you're not expecting it, they can spring and they can go tempo anytime they want to. So no, you always have to be ready for it, and so we'll see how that goes.